Nah, you could do a backflip. You could do a backflip. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I could do a backflip.
Yeah, no, real talk. It's not that. I don't want to say it's not that deep for people to go out and crack their necks because I did hurt myself. I hurt myself bad. But when you get a coach and then you talk to them and they just like, they make it simple for you where the fear is gone. They have that little foam pit and then the mats. When I tell you, I went from hyperextending both my toes, messing like, gave myself low-key a concussion one of the times to doing a backflip in like 15 minutes on the ground.
Eesh. So what's the technique they give y'all? Because I feel like everything, like shit that looks difficult or like a karate or something.
No, real
like
talk,
what's the technique where they're like, for you not to fear to fall on your head or to, I don't know, like you said, some with your toes, like what's the technique they give you to get that fear out you? Or
What's
to
so
like
funny
bypass all that?
One is like being able to confront it. Like, okay, boom, like that's part. And then is the safety piece, is the foam pit. So first of all, you start just like you jump backwards into the foam pit. Like you just feel yourself jumping backwards. And then they kind of ease you onto the actual floor. So there's like, okay, here's the motion, hands straight up, and then tuck your knees to your chest. And the thing is to have faith that your body is going to bring you around and not panic. If you panic in midair when you are halfway upside down.
But there's no way you could panic in midair though. I feel like once you actually got through half of it, you can only go forward. Well, if you panic, you gotta go through. You gotta go.
Gravity is gonna take you all the way through, but you can definitely try to bail out halfway through.
Yes, I've done it.
Start pausing in midair and shit.
I have, yeah, no, real talk. And your body just start releasing, boom. I got the video. I put it on my Instagram like last year when I was trying to learn. I got too confident too quick. Like I said, I did it in 15 minutes at the gym the first time because I was like, I'm gonna do this by my birthday. and then I was feeling myself. I got 2 sessions. I'm like, I'm him. I was like, you know what? Forget my birthday. It was a week early. Like I'm about to go into this backyard. And when you say like, there's no way to not flip halfway through, I was like, nah. I jerked my shoulder, flipped around, hit my head on the ground, and I was icing my toe in a bucket.
Hold on.
2 weeks.
Welcome to Pivot and Proceed.
Sometimes,
right? Just got right in this motherfucker.
Right.
We just got right in.
Sometimes, like
backflip your
how
way.
my
go ahead.
Sometimes how my mind works. I love this about myself because it's like we talk about their backflips and flipping. But then when I ask the question, I'm like, but you can't panic in the middle of the air. Like, you got to go all the way through now. You're like, nah, like, you really can. So it's like, what happens? Like, I'm thinking about like me in like situations in life that's like not no backflip or not nothing acrobatic or whatever you want to call that. It's just like, what happens if I already said I was going to do something and then it's like I'm in the middle of it and it's like affected other people or shit, myself or my safety. And I'm like, crap, why did I do this? I'm in the middle of it. I'm right in the middle. And dang, I shouldn't have done this. Or it's like, how do I turn around now? But it's just like, you literally can't. Because like, what if other people are helping you? Or like your coach, like you said, your coach was helping you right there. It's just like, all right, keep flipping. But you're like, okay, I can't let you down. And then if I let myself down, it's like, oh my God, like, why'd I do this to myself? You know?
What's so even funny to keep it, like, make it like deeper. It's like, I bailed out halfway through because it didn't feel right. When if I would have just stuck and trusted the form,
and stuck,
I would have been all right. But because I said this don't feel right.
Yeah, you didn't trust your ignorance.
You gonna stop.
You didn't trust.
But then again, that comes with not really practicing or not knowing the environment that you're in either. So it's like, but you're not thinking about that halfway, right? You know, you're not thinking about that halfway in midair with gravity.
Yeah, like, midair, you just, and the thing, like halfway through that process, you're like, this don't feel right. Time to bail.
This don't feel
and
right.
you telling yourself, like, I'm trying to save myself, I'm trying to save everybody else, but you making it worse for yourself and everybody else.
Right.
By trying to bail out and just not finishing, just not sticking to what you know to do. And that's crazy. I didn't even think about it being that deep, but that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, but that's literally how I think. That's why I'm like, I'm listening to you and I'm like, wait a minute. We pause all the time in the middle of stuff. And then it's like, we named our podcast Pivot and Proceed. It's like in the middle while you're flipping. That's what I imagine. You're just like, wait a minute. I actually need to pivot this shit because now I'm scared. And it's like, why did I do this? But you just got to proceed on. And like Kamau said, welcome to Pivot and Proceed. I feel like that was a great segue into, who we are and why we do this thing.
I don't know
How
how to
y'all feeling
backflip.
today?
And I don't know. I mean, on a trampoline, but I don't know by 30. I don't know if that
I ain't been on a
necessarily
trampoline
measures
in a
my
while.
success. That's
And
Tunji's. So
stop letting folk tell y'all I'm not more special than anyone else. Stop letting folks tell y'all like, oh, I'm getting
You
close
just
to
did
30.
it. You just
Since when
started.
did that get old? Low
No,
key,
for real.
I feel like that's
people
millennials
people be
that
looking.
say that.
People
Nah,
be
yeah,
that's
30s.
I'm a millennial. Like so we
Because
like
30 is
get that
still young as hell.
30 to
right?
me really is like the new 20 because, and I'm not 30 yet, so I'm just speaking from what I suspect, but 30 to me is when you got your shit a little bit more figured out. And now, depending on your situation, like you really get to step into who you are and have fun with life. Yeah, you got responsibilities and shit, but you feel a lot more confident in your own skin. And that took all of your miserable 20s to get there. Now, my 20s aren't miserable. I'm having fun, but I definitely can see why people like overblow the 30s, like, oh, it's not. There's
Right. And
not.
But you know what's crazy?
Run it.
They say that 40s is like where you have everything figured out. In
Mm.
30s, you realize
believe
everything
that.
that you messed up in your or like rumbling 20s, what you messed up. And in 30s, you actually start the process of doing what you love and what you like and what makes you feel good. And then they say 40 is where it's just like, listen, you have it all figured out now, whether you're on the left or the right. That was your choice and your choice only. That's what I always hear.
Yeah, I think it's just because it's like that journey of figuring yourself out, right?
Totally.
20s is like you're trying to balance out, for most of us, being broke, having fun, wanting to
Not
like
knowing.
really explore your freedom, like seeing the world, experiencing different things, and also not being established enough to say, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. Everybody's still really figuring it out. By 30, you're able to look back on mistakes and journeys on different jobs, different careers, different situations, relationships, and you're like, okay, I
see
know more
patterns.
of myself now
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
know what path that I'm going to choose.
Yes.
And then you actually really start the path. You start cooking. And we always compare ourselves. I think like when people say, oh, 30, I'm old, my knees, my back. Number one, because we're not taking care of ourselves.
Talk.
That's just off top. Like,
Check.
I stay saying this, you're not old.
And we're not above it either. I'm not above not taking care of myself. Like I'm definitely, I'm saying it's a give and go process, but
It's
over
a
time,
daily
if
battle.
you keep complaining, what I'm saying, like, then you're just missing the opportunity.
And I said this before, people be walking around like angry all the time, head hurting, identifying with their dehydration. Like, I just don't got time for people. When really you don't got no water in your system. Like that is not who you are.
Ain't even think it clear.
Right? You like in what everybody in elementary school, middle school, what they say, stretch every day is so important. We're like, yeah, pass the dodgeballs. Like bring out the basketballs, let's hoop. Because your body is still in the state where you're moving so much that you don't realize that it's not as important to you. And even though it was stressed so much, now we don't do it. Now that I'm stretching every day, when I tell you it's changed my life, now I ain't him yet, because I was just able to sit crisscross applesauce day before yesterday comfortably. Like, and I've been stretching for 2 years every day. So like that tells you where I was at. Like I'm not stretch. You're not old. I'm telling you, you're not old. But to say
I want to go back to a point.
Go for it, Zuri. So I'm gonna go
I want to go back to a point where you were saying, I'm gonna just circle back real quick. What you were saying, Tunji, because I want to talk about this. How you were saying you start to go back and you start looking at relationships and friendships of your 20s, like you were describing the difference between 20, 30, 40s. And the other day, it's crazy that you said that, because the other day I'm just driving and it's like, I don't know about y'all, but that's my place where I just start thinking. Sometimes I don't even play the radio or like my music. I'm just thinking, wherever my mind goes to. It's kind of like therapy. And I was driving and just thinking, and I started to just do like some positive self-talk without even noticing, which means me practicing that self-talk is really coming into fruition now, because I did it without even trying. And I'm literally thinking about how I'm in my 20s, in 2 years, I'm going to be hitting that dirty 30. But I was thinking, I was like, man, my 20s. Hey, man, they going to be pretty
Take a little dirt on it one time.
And I'll say the latter end of my 20s is when shit like really started to hit the fan for me, where I really started to noticing, different people in my life weren't really what I thought they always were or what I made them up to be. And different relationships that I had been in. And I was literally having a conversation with myself, honestly, if we want to be frank, about just how I'm so thankful about what I've gone through and the type of people that didn't have my back when they didn't have my back. And I'm like, hopefully when I get to my 30s, I'll have some of that figured out, of just like what those lessons were. And I just had like a moment of just gratefulness. Like I was just so grateful for my 20s and grateful. And I was listening to this pastor this past week, and he was just saying like, we have to thank our enemies. Like we literally have to thank them. He said like we be thanking the wrong people. Like we thank our friends, we thank people who have our back, we thank the people who were there for us, motivating us. But he was like, you literally have to thank your enemies. And I put that in the same category as me in my 20s, because things are just being light bulb moments for me right now. And while we're having this conversation, I'm over here thinking, I just cannot wait until I can get to my 30s, because I feel like I'm gonna look at my 30s as like a refresher. I'm just like, all right, got through my 20s, those relationships and friendships that were just all over the place, got my lessons. Now what the 30s got for me. And then I brought up, that moment about the 40s that we'll hopefully have it all figured out. You know what I'm saying? And just us talking about that, man, like that was a conversation where I got myself together real quick. I was like, it was horrible. It was not that great, but 20s like taught me something, to come out with.
Something about seeing the world through, or having a worldview that is mainly driven by gratitude, where you can circle yourself back to gratitude. You allow yourself to get way farther versus any other kind of worldview, right? Yeah. You find the good in things that aren't good. You find the motivation in things that really should just piss you off or make you want to give up. And like to be able to kind of restart yourself, be a self-igniter, but through a positive feeling. I mean, you can do anything. Like, and I think you can frame almost any hardship in the form of like either a lesson or a blessing. And it's just this worldview of gratitude that allows you to do it.
And it's whatever you choose to, a lesson or a blessing. And sometimes those blessings gonna come out of that lesson, but only if you look for it. And I think that's the hardest part. Looking and finding the blessing within the lesson, because it's like all these lessons, we always gonna get hit with lessons. Like that's why we're alive. Like we wouldn't be here unless the higher power needed us to get lessons. And then unless we dig and get the blessings lessons just keep coming. And they probably the same one too, like just boxing, you just hitting you, you gotta find those blessings, man. You're gonna be stuck in that revolving cycle too. It was just like a hamster wheel, just keep going and going and going.
And the thing is, like, we look at things as challenges, but really like a simple perspective shift is opportunity. The quote for today that I was speaking on was George Bernard Shaw. He said, life isn't about finding yourself, it's about creating yourself. So when you look at like this challenge comes and it's like, who can I become on the other side of it? And especially, I'll say it this way, for those of us that are listening, because we're talking about 20s and 30s, and some people probably in their 40s and 50s listen to this like, I ain't got nothing together. It is not looking good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I number one, I feel that.
That is true.
Number two, I always look at things like, because when I was stepping into my 30s, was that feeling of, okay, am I past my prime? And figuring out what is something that I've always wanted to do that will shift my brain. One thing. Not the 20 things I messed up on, not the 15, not I wish I would have did this 15 years ago. What is something that I want to do now that I've always wanted to do? And start chasing that one little thing every day at a time. And I'm telling you, 5 minutes a day over a year, it gets nasty real quick. I'll tell you that right now. No matter what you're doing, 5 minutes a day for a year, you become a problem. And over that year, you look back and you 40, you 41 now, you're like, okay, I'm still her. I'm still him. And you're asking yourself, what else can I become? So if you ain't got it together, because a lot of times we pretend that people looking at themselves like, nah, my life looking pretty trash right now. And everybody like, no, it's not trash. It's like, no, there's probably some things that are trash, right? There's probably some things that like objectively you're looking at like, this is garbage. And in the sense of this could be better and it should be. Like being real with that, being gratitude, like Kamau said, being grateful for what you have, but still chasing the better.
I think an important part to me of figuring out how your past should like, or not even how your past should anything. I think an important part of figuring out why you should be excited about the future is when you take some time to reflect. It's something I'm really big on. I think it's been a theme of mine in my 20s, and it's really kind of helped me. I think believe in myself and believe in the future and believe in what's possible is looking back at what I've done. And you know, we've said it a couple of different ways in previous episodes, counting your W's, etc. But I think we all of us kind of have this thing that we fall to, which is like recency bias. Like all of us only think about like, you know, how was this day? Like how was the last couple of days? How was the last week? And if you've had, you know, 6, 7, even as short as like 2.5 bad days in a row, like you're gonna be like, fuck this whole journey, you know, like I'm tired of this, you know, and let you have some bad weeks or some bad months in a row. Like you're definitely like, you know, this whole sprint, sprint of decades, like I'm out, man. Like I'm not, this isn't working for me. I'm not winning. But when you take some time, like an easy practical example for those of you who are on Instagram, if you take some time and kind of like look back at some of your favorite photos or some things that, you know, if you had to make a collage of this last year or a collage of this last 5 years, like go back and look at those moments. And I promise when you're finished, you're going to be smiling. You're going to be like, damn, like I've done some kind of cool things. But you got to be intentional about it. You got to actually make the time to reflect, because a lot of people just want to go and what's next and how do I get this and how do I achieve this thing? Like appreciate what you've done first. Start there.
Like even that, what that makes me think about is like one thing I said, and I definitely mean, I only look back to move forward, right? In the sense of I look back on everything and like number one, that sense of gratitude. Like, you know, these videos, like today was day 118. And I just like, I trip out, like I'm still here. I'm still doing this. And it's a small thing. But to say like staying consistent is so disgustingly hard. If you say you're going to do anything every day and you do it, you feel like him. Like you feel like the chosen one. 118 days in a row, I could be like, I'm a sharpen this pencil 118 days in a row. It's just so difficult to do it. I'm gonna drink this from this specific water bottle. I'm gonna not lose this chapstick, anything. It's so hard to stay consistent in a busy world that when you make something a priority and you do it, and you're able to look back on it, like Kamau said, and you're looking at your Instagram, you're looking at these different things, and you're like, I think it sends a message that I love myself, that I'm important, that I'm valuable. You know what I'm saying? Like when I say something, I do it. And what's his name? Ed Milet, I think he said like
He's
confident. Yeah, he said confident people are people who keep their words to themselves, not anyone else. So when they say they're going to do something for them first, they do it. They say, okay, I'm drinking this much water today. I'm doing it. I'm going to the gym today. I'm doing it. I'm not doing this for the next month. They don't do it for the next month. And it's not about their relationship with anybody else, but with themselves. So like, that's something that like I wrote down and really hit me. Like, if you can do it for yourself, it's so much easier for anybody to do it for anybody else and to say no to somebody else. Because you know you're not doing it. I think it's so funny in our culture how we be like, oh, maybe, you know, I may pull up when you know good and well you ain't going.
You ain't going nowhere.
You know good. Don't
You're gonna be on the
stop.
good sofa.
Stop. And we be looking
Why
at each
though?
other
Like, because
oh.
I just don't be wanting to let them down. Be like, hey man, it's a possibility. It's like a
Yeah.
it's like a
It's so
10%
comfortable to
chance.
say it too.
Huh?
We be playing
I
mind
said it's
games
so
with each other.
comfortable
To say
I don't know
what?
why.
Like I'm a pull up. I
to
might
just
pull
be
up.
like, yeah, I'm a definitely, I might, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's like it's a funny conversation piece. Yeah, I think it's an unknown language that we know.
Facts.
Anytime a black person say,
They
yeah, I
ain't
may,
coming.
and just the
Yeah.
word pull up sometimes, it's just like,
Okay.
nah, she said
Dead
she
as
ain't coming. No,
hell.
she said she might. Nah. It's like a code we got for real. It's like,
I
it's all
always be
love though. I feel like it's one of those things.
I always be that friend, be like, nah, she ain't pulling up, bro. Like, just let it go. Like, you know, they'd be like, no,
And me,
said
I'm
she
the
might be
one where
on
I'm
the
like,
way.
no, they coming.
Oh,
Yeah,
you mean
that
like
That's me. I'm
classic.
like, no, they definitely coming. That's
That
me.
classic.
I'm like,
Who
no,
all,
they coming.
who all gonna be there?
Oh, yeah, who all gonna be there going crazy? Now that's me. I gotta know. They're gonna tell me the vibe real quick.
Oh boy.
I do want to go back to one thing, Tunji, the quote you said. Forgot who you said it. But you said, I think you said life is about
Oh yeah,
life is
life.
not about finding yourself, but about creating yourself, right?
Yeah, George Bernard
And
Shaw.
when you said that, I let you finish. I'm just over here thinking. I'm like, how I like the quote, I do, but I also want to challenge it of just like where I'm coming from with it. Where I get the creating piece, but I think us creating ourselves is a part of us finding ourselves, because I truly believe that the higher power puts us here to find ourselves, because we can't create anything. Like, we don't create anything from the beginning. We are not creators. You might be a creative, but I don't believe that like we're creators of ourselves. We cannot. It's impossible. Like, we don't have that ability. I think we were put here to find ourselves, because the higher power already created us for who we were going to be. Period.
Yeah.
Like, my first day coming out the womb, it was already written. I can't create anything. I can't remake anything. And I think the creative piece is again a part of us finding ourselves. And I think when we start to find ourselves is when we become creative.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I see it, because you can't. And I feel like
Yeah.
confidence is a part of that as well, because I'm not going to start being creative, because creativity comes from this imagination. It comes from something that's not there yet, with the quotes on it, because
Mhm.
we haven't thought it up yet. Maybe the higher power did, but we haven't thought it up yet. And for us, that's creative. Like, I'm a creator, you know what I'm saying? I'm created like Kanye, the Yeezys. I see that as creative.
Yeah.
But that was already written for him. He just had to find himself so he could be creative and could, do a graduation, the freaking graduation, album. But he had to find that within him that was already there. And if you want to get real deep, we have the universe and everything already in us.
Hey, get real deep with
We
them,
have
Zuri.
all the stars. We have everything that we're
Talk.
supposed to
So many quotes going through my
have
mind, boy. Oh
already.
my God.
But
Yeah, talk.
because we did not create these stars within us, and we did not create this from, the get-go, right?
Mhm.
We have to find that. Like,
Yeah.
when I came out the womb, I didn't know that I was going to be on a podcast with two other guys named Pivot and Proceed and talking like this. Like, I had to find myself, and I had to find who I am and be confident in it enough to even answer that call, to answer that. And now I get to be creative in how I look and how I present myself.
No, I feel that. That's number one. That's cold. That's a dope perspective. And it makes me think about a few things. One, I'll start with, I think it depends on how you define things. Because when I look at like create, how I see it is, from your perspective, no, we don't create anything. Everything is already here for us. And it's almost like a manipulation game. When people talk about, oh, I don't take drugs from the doctor. I only take these herbs that are, even the medicine man back at the village and the ancestors were taking all those herbs, manipulating them, mixing them together. We just look at that as natural. It's in nature. It's less manipulation than in the lab. But it's always that extent of the manipulation. All that's to say is we are creating. We are creating in the sense of we're taking these building blocks and making something new. Like, if I go into a science teacher mode, I think about a physical change versus the chemical change. Like, when I take those two atoms that existed already, and I'm able to connect them in a way where, for example, it gives off fire. I've literally made something new. They've combined in a new way. So it's almost that balance of that happens within us. We forget that when you're working out and all these different things, like your body literally goes to chemical changes where you create a new version of yourself, like literally by the definition of change, of growth. So, and to make my whole point that I just said nullified, because your perspective is so dope, I had read this earlier this week. So my man's name is Carl Norden. This is the dude in World War II. People were just bombing recklessly. Like, you know, the bad guys over there. Yeah, there's some kids too. I ain't ask all that. All the bad guys. And they would just bomb the whole area. And he was like, nah, we're not doing that. He figured out how to drop a bomb from 30,000 feet in the air into the size of a barrel with no notes. He wrote nothing down on paper. And people are like, my guy is a genius. And he's like, I reject the notion of being a genius. Humans only discover. God creates. And he's
so basically, yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. I didn't even know that was a quote.
No, right? Yeah. So I was just saying that's my whole point.
That's
what
exactly
you said,
what I just said.
And he's like, God, what did he say? He said, God reveals his secrets to those who are willing to use their mind and work for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like,
to make, find it.
Yeah, to make your whole point, it's
find
like
what's
it's
already there.
Is that discovery? Is that discovery?
Exactly.
So that's a solid point.
Can I ask you a question?
I just think that's the most scariest part, because the fact that we have to find it, I think that's where we get scared. And I'm going to speak for myself, because I know it's in me. I can feel it. I know what I'm supposed to do. And just knowing, just of the know, right? You can be scared of the unknown, but I feel like you could be scared of the knowing too. You could be scared of that because you know what you're capable of. You know that you inspire people.
Yeah.
But you get that little gut wrenching feeling when people start to tell you, when it starts to show that you're actually inspiring. And then you have people who try to, get in the way, or, like try to block that, which they can't, but it's just knowing that all these factors can come your way and can come in front of you, because you know you have something in you. You feel it. Everybody does. It's just, do we answer that call? And I feel like that's where that free will piece, again, to get deep, that's where that free will comes into place too, where it's just like, are you going to pick up the phone, or are you going to just let it keep ringing until it just keeps ringing in your ear and starts annoying you? And I think being scared of the knowing, that's what I'm gonna call it. Being scared of the knowing is so scary. And it might be even scarier than being scared of the unknown. Because when you're scared of the unknown, you don't even tap into it. It leaves you as untapped. It is untapped, because you're not going to go towards it. You're not going to pick it up. You're not even going to try. You're not going to go towards it. But when you're scared of the knowing, that's that gut wrenching feeling where like, if I don't do this, it'll never get done. And because I know that makes it even more scarier. That if I don't do it, me, the little person, me, right? If I don't do it, this doesn't get done. And that can be even scarier than not doing anything at all. You know what I'm saying?
The reality is, if you don't become everything you're supposed to, the world falls apart.
Right.
The world falls apart. And I don't mean like, oh man, that's so metaphorical. That's deep. Oh, the world falls apart. It's the domino effect.
It's a little piece of the puzzle that's not there.
Yeah. You are meant to impact people that you will never see, that you will never know. And that domino effect echoes into eternity. As my man from Gladiator would say, like, that is eternity. Yeah. And if you never make the sound, right? And that's the comfort and peace, right? Because you are meant to do it. Like, it was made for you. Like, no one else can get greasy like you can. Like, the stage is literally set for you. All you have to do is lean into it.
Nobody can package like you. Your packaging gonna look different. And it don't matter if a million other people doing it. That's what I love too. That's what I love. Because I feel like we get discouraged too. We get discouraged when we see everybody is starting to do it, or something is saturated, or like the bread aisle. I love this analogy. You can walk down the bread aisle and you see, you see the big bankers like the Sara Lee's, the Wonder Bread, but then you see the bread brands that you've never seen before. And there's so many of them, but it's just like, if you walk down the bread aisle, you can literally get the inspiration that just because a lot of people are doing it doesn't mean that you were not called to do this too. Because your packaging gonna look different. Yeah. You're gonna step into that space different. Different enemies gonna be coming after you anyway. Different people who support you gonna be coming after you. yours is just going to look, feel, and impact who you were supposed to impact. You know how many breads are on the aisle, but everyone isn't for everybody. Maybe someone is allergic to something in that bread. Maybe someone doesn't like how that tastes. Maybe someone doesn't like how that makes them feel. And you just have to go after the knowing. You know what I'm saying?
And maybe you great value bread. Maybe you are great
and that's
value.
Okay.
And it's affordable. Who hasn't eaten great value? And if you have, don't talk to me. I'm not like, come on now. Like, it's necessary.
But if that's all you can eat.
Right? And it's
you
like
need to create that
somewhere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people not even on the shelf. I want to talk.
Not even in the store. What you mean? Not on the
shelf. Talk.
Not even on the curb.
I think about that with social media a lot, actually, that I feel like the majority of people who are on social media are only consuming.
Mm-hmm.
There's it's weird because I think the creators, to use social media terms, feel like there's a lot of people creating, but there's a ton more people consuming.
Yeah.
You are definitely of the minority if you are creating on social media.
I feel it, and I had to make a mental shift. I think we've talked about this before, saying, okay, you are a creator, so control your intake. Because when you are a creator, now you're on there so much and looking at these insights and these different perspectives. And what helps me is I'm just trying to take a different path with it. Like, I call it a beautiful selfishness. Like Zuri said, like, when you feel the weight of having to inspire someone else, I don't feel the weight. My responsibility is to inspire myself. My responsibility is to feel like the best version of myself. And when I'm clicking on 100, you're going to feel it too. You're going to feel it too. And that's automatic. So I call it a beautiful selfishness. Like, every time I'm looking into that camera, that's for me. That's for me. I already get blessed by it. And then it's like, if I feel like my soul tingles, like, you need to recalibrate this a little bit because it's going to be needed for someone else too. You've already got what you need, right? Now tailor it for someone else is going to need this too. So after
speak to that feeling right there. I had to stop you because that's important. And I feel that needs to be said. Speak to the feeling where you get that tingle, because my tingle is like in my stomach and it's like in my heart. Literally, it's like in my chest. For you, it might be different. What's that feeling where you just like, I have to get this out. The people have to know this, right? Yeah. But then once you feel like it's been said and it's been released into the world and whoever's going to catch it, catches it. What's that other feeling? Do you still get that tingle, or is it more of you just being practical and just getting it out?
I was just talking to my brother today about this. It's like when you have a magic moment. So what I do is when I watch the video, it inspires me and I smile, right? And I get that smile across my face, like, I felt that. Then it's ready to go. And no matter what I see later on, it's part of the journey now. Like I said, only looking back to look forward. And that's the beautiful thing about doing something every day. Now you always have tomorrow. Like, I'm not searching for a magical moment. I just live in beautiful moments. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have to try and create them. Like, my life is them. There's always if I have tomorrow, I'm getting tomorrow. If I have tomorrow, I'm getting tomorrow. And that's the thing, like with the voice that you spoke to, like, it's almost that Kobe, right? Like, when I'm done, like, it's like, oh, so why aren't you smiling? Like, I'm trying to post the video and something in me says, job's not done yet, right?
Gotcha. Do it's
do
still
it one
something
more
that
time.
Needs to be said.
Yeah, do it one more time. It's not complete. And I don't, it's one of those things that I can't even describe it. Like, it's very rarely do I have a loss for words. But when I've gotten everything I need and I still get pulled back, like, nah, that's not it. That's not it. And so rarely do I like look at because like I said, I'm always moving forward. But when you reap the benefits of it, like, I'll say this was like sometime the middle of last year. I had posted a video and I'm just going back and I'm looking through some of the comments. And one lady was like, I thank you so much for this video. I lost my child last month and this has helped me. When I tell you my life froze, because this was for me, this wasn't for her, or at least I didn't know it was for her. And for you to do something selfishly to light yourself up that's blessing the world, or to hit somebody that's in that space of life, it felt like cheating, right? That's why I'm like, I'm the most blessed man alive. Who gets to live like that?
Well, it's a crime not to do that kind of stuff. Like, it's a crime against humanity to not let your light shine. You were robbing somebody else. You really are. And the thing is, we're not all knowing beings. We're not infinite beings. Some of us have better connections with the higher power than others. Not speaking for myself, because I kind of sounded a little bit like I was on a pedestal, but some people do have higher connections with the higher power. That doesn't mean that you're an all-knowing being, and that doesn't mean that you always know when you're being used, or when you're being in a channel, or when you're being a connection point to somebody else. You don't know that. And by stopping yourself, because you spoke to this piece about a feeling, I think for me, a feeling that I often battle is a self-resistance. Like you get in your head so much that it's just like, oh no, like this is wrong. I don't feel right. The circumstances aren't right. The weather isn't right. I'm not wearing the right thing. People weren't talking to me nicely this morning. All of that is just fodder to pull yourself out, where you're just like, no, I'm pressing the eject. I'm not going to show up today. I'm not going to,
it's like clutter.
I'm not going to feel it. I'm just refusing to feel what this thing is coming through. And so a lot of times, like, I deal with that. It's more of a stomach thing, honestly. It's not an exciting thing. It's kind of like a tightness. And I'm just like, oh man, like, nah. But
I won't be able to move forward.
You don't know when you're being used.
And what's so scary, like our challenge, and this is what like I had to go through with teaching, because it was so heavy that I would say the same thing. You don't know when you're being used, but the reality is you're always being used.
You took it out about you beat
all
me.
day. You are never not being used, because we are
You're never not being used.
Like we're an ecosystem. Your energy is always being given off for somebody else, taking it, balancing. So it's like either you're giving out that good energy, you're taking in negative energy, you're giving out negative energy, or what I've also realized, like you said, you're robbing people. Because I've realized when I'm so stuck on myself and I'm going through it, the outside world doesn't exist. I'm busy operating in the world, fighting these eternal battles. And what's so funny, this is how I know I'm in a different space in life. So I'm riding, right? I'm thinking about my own issues. I'm totally in my own world. We in this Atlanta traffic. And all of a sudden, like, and I'm driving and I see somebody trying to get over in the left lane beside me. But I don't even register that I should slow down and let them in, because I'm thinking about my own problems, right? And all I hear is, bitch, we all go in the same place, right? And I was like, and then I stopped. And it wasn't even a sense of like, who you talking to, right? Like, because I know who I am, right? And this person, so what's so funny, I'll just tell you what I did. I stopped. I looked at the person in the front seat, and she looked like that embarrassed friend that their friend in the back seat is putting them through it. And I just put my arm go ahead, man. And she was like, oh my God, like nobody had ever responded to, people give off that type of energy as a last resort. So, oh, F me, F you too type thing.
Facts.
Not I actually expect you to let me get over. But I stopped and I let them over. And the lesson for me was, it had nothing to do with them or any of that. The lesson for me was, when I'm so caught up in myself, the outside world doesn't exist anymore. Also, things that would have been, go ahead.
To this parking thing, because I had a similar thing happen to me, but it was at a parking lot, and like everybody's trying to get into the parking lot, and I was just like, I'm not fighting this shit. Like, I was like driving a manual at the time. I put my shit in first gear. I'm like, I'm not about to fight with y'all. Like, I'll just cruise in when I get in. And then like the guy in front of me, like he paid for my parking ticket. He was like, hey, let that guy through. I was just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was just such a cool moment, because I think it's easy to choose violence and just like turn up on somebody. But if you just go with the flow, sometimes like that alone, your action alone will have a ripple effect. You don't even have to say anything. It's just like, I'm just going to flow over here.
Facts. And I do want to go back to something. We kind of went ahead. But we were talking about Tunji, I think you were bringing up, and we all chimed in about, when you do it for you, and then Kamau was like, sometimes we don't even know that we're doing it for someone else. I say is when it's put on your heart to do something for you, it's for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like point blank period, because it wouldn't have been put on our heart if it wasn't to help the masses, or if it wasn't even to help one person. If it's just one person that you have to help, that's it, and you get 10,000 views, you are speaking to a crowd of 26,000 people. If just one person gets that message that you were trying to relay, that got put on your heart, that because my heart starts beating, my stomach gets tight, and when I say it and I feel that release, my shoulders go down and I'm calm again, which means somebody needed that. It might have been for me years ago, might have been for me seconds ago, but I got through that tribulation. I got through that mind block or that mindset for a reason, and it was put on my heart. Like you said, you're on day 118, right? All this has been for you started out, but what's crazy is because you even got that vision and that idea of doing it for Tunji, it's been a lot of those that were for other people, actually.
Yeah, no, that's real.
And I don't know if you've gotten this experience. You can tell me if you have or not. But when you're talking, you say a quote or you do something and you're saying you feel good, whatever your style is, and then after you're like, that was good, but like, it was all right. Or even if it was great, even if your delivery was good, it didn't really resonate with you. I don't know if you've ever felt that, but I've said things where it didn't resonate with me as much, but I sound good, I look good, I'm on day whatever, and I'm doing great, I'm still being consistent, but it didn't feed me. So I know it fed someone else. And I want people to know that too. Just because you might be speaking or whatever your profession is or whatever your calling is, even if it doesn't feed you in the moment, it's for someone else. It's not, you don't have to think about that. You don't have to hope. Somebody got that. Either it's going to be today, tomorrow, even if it's years down the road, somebody is going to get it.
That's a dope perspective, but I won't lie to you. I feel it every day. Like it literally, it legit beats for me. But I will say that some days, like I feel like it's more for me, and some days, like I'll listen to it, like something will pop or blow up, or more people will connect to it than I expected, or people will take it in a totally different way than I didn't even see. Right, and I was like, oh, that's okay, beauty that was for them. Yeah. Right? Like, oh, wow. Okay, that's not what I was talking about at all. You know what I'm saying? And they got something completely else, but that's so rich and beautiful too, where I'm just sitting looking at it like, bro, this was for this moment. Everything I did in that car for 30 minutes or for an hour or 2 hours or whatever it was, this was for them to see it and them to have this comment, this reaction. Like, so I do have moments like that, like, the response is more, well, I don't know if the response is more important than the action, but like I was exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I have a certain beef with a certain kind of person. And I just like people who do acts of kindness for the views. It to me, like, I think it says something. I don't know what it says about you, but I think that you to feel the need to do acts of kindness to show people or to get views, like there's something there. There's something to unpack, and I don't think that you need witnesses to be a good person, and I think it may be just a way in how you're measuring your impact or how you're measuring your own goodness. But I think you should reevaluate that. You don't need people to see you to help somebody up or to carry somebody's groceries up or whatever, right? Like to give money. I see all kind of videos on Facebook where like there's a hidden camera
and then there's like a person who, you know, was on the street and struggling, and like they come up with $100 if like they give them, you know, a match or something random. And it's just like, you know, you could just really like bless people's day without having to make it content, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like, to me, like, what's the underlying reason why? Like, are you doing it for views, or are you really doing it for something positive? Obviously, like, there's a lot of stupid things you could do for views instead, but yeah, just I have a certain beef with people who need to document moments of I'm giving back.
Yeah, that I feel super conflicted about that, right? Because you see like there's so much darkness everywhere, right? And to see a little bit light, you're like, I'll take it. But it does, like, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, right? Like somebody's at their lowest point and you a blessed person and you coming up off of like helping them in their heartache, you know, in their situation. But are you really helping? Right? Like you just it feels like they're helping themselves more than they're helping them. And that's another, I got this quotes for days. Nip said that no one knows how pure you are except for you.
And the higher
no one
power
knows how pure you are except for you. It's like, and this was in reference to when he was getting it, like he got a studio rated when he was being pure, like he wasn't like in the streets anymore. And he's like, when does karma come around, right? And like he had gotten a gun charge and all this stuff, and he was just doing what he was supposed to. And I feel like when I think about those people in that situation, I don't know how it plays out. Like you said, it's.
I think for me too.
What do you think, Zuri? I don't know.
I'll just say this last thing, and I'll kick it to Zuri. I think for me too, kindness should be a daily act. It shouldn't be something that you got to think about and you got to plan, and you got to go to Target and get some shit and get your buddy and y'all, you know, make a trip down, blah blah blah. I think it should be a daily act. It should be a part of your routine. Like it should almost be an instinct. If you're really about living, you know, if you're really about living in your purpose and kind of just like, you know, talking about living in all these themes that we've been talking about this episode, if you're really about that kind of change and that kind of impact and that kind of like, you know, just being a vessel, then it's a part of who you are. It's a part of your daily thing. You don't need to plan it, you know? Now, if you do happen to document, cool, or whatever, right? Like if you're doing something positive, if it's for an organization, whatever, but like, if you're only doing good things because you're planning them and you're making content out of them, you know, if that's the mainstay, again, I think it's the wrong form of currency.
So my viewpoint on this topic is validation can be a disease.
Ooh, say that again.
And what I mean,
say it again.
Validation can be a disease. And as we all know, diseases grow through the body if they're not cured. And how I see, you know, having to record act of kindness, it could be a part, and this is all hypothetical, it could be a part of these individuals not knowing who they are enough to not need someone to clap for them, to say, good job. You gave that homeless person $10, $1, whatever may have you. You are a good person. I see that now. Some people need validation. Some people need that act of kindness to be that good karma in their life, if you believe in karma, that you know, that blessing over their life. Some people only give to get blessings. Like, yes, you're going to get blessed for giving, but it's all about your mindset of how you go into it. And I think all of this is a reason why a lot of people think that they need to post it. On the second hand, I hate it because I think of the other person more than the person that's giving. I want you to give a homeless person $1, whatever you have and whatever you can give. If it's 50 cents, listen, give that. But you don't have to record it, because I feel like that's embarrassing to, or could feel embarrassing to, the person on the receiving side. Now, if I have enough money to put, you know, someone in a house, buy them a car, buy them shoes, whatever, you don't know how it's going to make the person on the receiving end feel. Do you think that they would really be asking for this if they didn't really need it? No, they will not be, you know, on the street standing. That's probably embarrassing. And I'm from the standpoint of being favored enough to not even know what that feels like. But I know if I was out there standing in the hot sun asking for money on the side of the road, I would be embarrassed, but I just know I have to do it. And then you're going to put a phone in their face. Like, come on, that's the part. I feel more for the person on the receiving side. But then at the same time, I'm so happy that they're receiving. But people who post it in their social media, that thing can go viral. Yeah. And every time I see one of these videos with tens of thousands, 100,000s of likes, my heart just goes out to that person who don't even know that their face is on the poster of being, you know,
real, most times
in such a vulnerable place, right? And I feel like these moments are so vulnerable because they're human. It's not like they're objects. And I think that's what people forget too.
They definitely objectify, like they're like, oh, like, look at this thing I did with this person. Like, I need to show you.
And that's where intent becomes so important. Number one, why I'm so conflicted is when I think about all, like you said, that point of all the things you could be doing. And when you think about somebody strategically thinking about how do I win where everybody wins? Number one, I'm gonna give somebody money that needs it. Number two, I'm gonna get the content I need. Number three, the emotional feeling you get when you give to another human being. If you genuinely want to see their face light up and catch that on camera, you like, this was a beautiful moment and I was a part of it, right? And then it's also blessing like people by seeing it. People are gonna want to give, and it's the content that's worthy of wanting me to put on my page. So I look at it like that. It's like, right? But it's also on the backdrop of that person's lowest moment, on the backdrop of that embarrassment. And I'm like, is it worth it? Is it still right or is it wrong? And it's both. And that's what's the problem. And then I think about, I feel even more conflicted when that same person that they gave a little bit of money to, and it's like, let's buy them a house and an apartment. And now they got an apartment for 6 months at a job, and they're getting all, like, it grows into something else. Where initially I'm like, man, look at this jerk, just trying to, you know, get some views off of this person's heartache. And now they got to go fund me where this person's together. Like even old dude that's like, take me out to dinner. Like they got my man an apartment in like, I think like Long Island or something like that. Oh, and he was like Barron or whatever his name was. And they were like, yeah, you know, I just want to thank y'all. And in his voice, so I'm not going to try to mimic it again. He was like, you know, I appreciate y'all. I've been on the streets for however long.
Facts.
So it's that conflict, right? 1 second we're laughing and we're just so used to homelessness. Like it's kind of sick, low key. Yes. We're so used to homelessness that it's just like it's part of comedy. Like
Zuri, talk about another drug addict. Talk about your trip to LA, Zuri, because I remember you hit me up.
Man, okay. So for all y'all that don't know, I have this special place in my heart for homeless people anyway. So I go to LA and I'm ready to turn up. Lord. This is my first time in LA. So I'm thinking of what I see on TV. Yes, I'm one of those people. When I travel, I'm thinking of what I see on social media or TV. I get there and the amount of homeless people I saw was just heart-wrenching, pitiful, disgusting. I didn't go to Skid Row. And that's the fact. I didn't even go to
you ain't even go
big
to
populated place like that.
Zero.
I'm just exactly. I'm just riding around LA as a tourist, and that's all I'm seeing. Not all I'm seeing, being dramatic, but I'm seeing too much of it for my taste, knowing how much money is being made in LA. And I just got turned off. And I remember I text him out, and that's his hometown, that's his baby. And I was just like, I had no idea. That it was this bad. And I was like, it's so much money here, from the sports teams to the, you know, the hills with all the celebrities and all that.
Billions and billions and billions.
And that's what's so sad to me.
Billions of dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
California itself is like what? If it tried to succeed, it'd be like what? Top 10 richest countries in the world?
Yeah.
The economies. Yeah, its economy.
I don't know if it'll be that way in 5-10 years, because the amount of people who are leaving California in record numbers is real. You know, people are flocking to Texas, and people are flocking for all the reasons. You know, there's I have a love-hate relationship with California. There's definitely as many bad things as there are good things. Like if I put it on this pedestal, like I can name just as many like challenges with the city or inconveniences or things that could be avoided. Then I can name as many just like, oh, it's beautiful, people are cool, vibes are good. Like it's such a like 50-50 place to me that I'm just like, it's not just a no-brainer. Like, oh, you gotta be in LA, you gotta be in Cali.
Mm-hmm. I think like you said, it's your perspective too.
No, that's facts because
bad, like
my dad, I'll just say real quick, my dad, that's his like paradise. He's since a kid growing up in like,
I love it out there.
Middle of nowhere, Kansas, since a kid, and I think a part of it, because there's an avenue off of one of the main freeways, is California Avenue. And I think, people grow up and like, for whatever reason, some people in their mind, they just choose a place where like, that is my heaven on earth. That's my place. And it's, I think for him, California was it for me, but I mean, for him, California was that place. For me, I'm like, nah.
Dang, I thought I'd never hear that from you.
Yeah, and I think it's perspective too, what you see, because like Zuri, some people don't like that homelessness, it don't hit them like that. Like this to them, it's just, this is part of life. This is how life works. Yeah. But it doesn't have to work that way at all. In fact, it doesn't make sense that it works that way. And I think about, because when really I started teaching, I was getting more confidence, right? You understand yourself, you understand the world better. And I just felt more comfortable in my body as a human being. And like being in like the inner city, because it's not where I'm from at all. But to teach on Crenshaw and Slauson, 51st in Vermont, and knowing how to move, most importantly. I was talking to this one homeless dude, Sylvester, and I would always see him on this bench or outside. I think it was a Hardee's or something like that. And I just like chopping it up with him. I was like, like your friends, your family, what's going on? He's like, I mean, yeah, they out here, but it hurts. It's like, even though they're so close, the distance back home is so far away. He's like, it's been so many years, so much separation, so many mistakes I've made. And really, it's one of those situations where people at the family and friends are like, they're waiting on Sylvester to want to come back home. And that was so hard to hear, right? Like, just like when it just speaks back to all of these are people. Everyone's a person with a family or friend, and in worst case scenario, without. So I hear what you're saying. For it to be like, when I think of LA, primarily I think of my paradise. Like, I'd be like, Atlanta cultivated me, and LA is where I was cultivating while being cultivated. So there's the selfishness here. Like, the people here just blessed me and grew me, and I feel like I've taken way more from this city than I've given. And maybe that's why I love LA like so much more, because I gave back too. Like, I gave back like as much as I felt like I was given.
I could see that. Yeah,
I never looked at it that way before.
I respect people who don't run away from the problems of a city. I really do. I'm not that person, but I do respect people who, because I'm in Chicago right now, and I mean, there's so much bad shit that, that can be said about, oh, Chicago, the crime, and it's not lies necessarily, like it's not facts, but you still find a way to see all the good in it and put the work in. And I think once you put that sweat equity in, and you put that intention and love, you're just like, no, I'm not leaving, I'm gonna hold this down, and I'm gonna continue to be a change for good.
Right. And it's like, it depends on how you define it too. Like, because right next to that, like, trap house is the like 2 doors down is Granny that makes the best sweet potato pie in the city. You know what I'm saying? And everybody goes to her, and then she has a little shop, and she makes it on like Thanksgiving, and that's what makes it complex. Like, when you're on the outside, you only see that trap house. People in the community, it's like, that's there too, but that's Granny. And they like, that's the dynamic in all these, like, it's culture, it's human beings. Like, people, there's not no, oh, you all good and you all bad. We all both.
For the record, I love
Facts.
Chicago. Shout out to y'all.
Put that on record. Yeah. Yeah.
And then going back to your point, Tunji, like the grandma's house right next to the trap, but we also have to realize, I want to say my perspective on that, why I think the culture runs so deep in neighborhoods and situations like that. It's because most of the time, the system is what sadly set us up to even have to have a trap house for
Facts.
some of these guys in the neighborhood,
Yeah.
right?
I
Yes,
thought
they
doing
make
it
their
for
own
grandma.
choice. Right, they trying to get grandma out the hood.
Yeah,
She can
the
stop
sweet
selling
potatoes ain't
it.
free. The sweet potatoes cost money. Stop playing.
Right. But I think that's a part of the conversation that's never had, and it pisses me off because we always want to look at these young guys and it's just like, why he in the street? Oh, now he need to get in school. Okay, what if he can't afford it? Oh, why he in the street? Now he need to go on bed in the house and find a job. Okay, what if he's applying and nobody's hiring him because how he looks? Like we never talk about those type of questions, and then we want to have conversations of how these neighborhoods are going to shit and nobody's buying back grandma's house because where's the capital? We don't have it, and why is that? Let's go to the root, as they say, the root of the problem. You know what I'm saying? That's why grandma is living right next to the trap house. They don't touch grandma house though. Whatever go on, you skip over grandma house.
Big facts. These are
Yeah,
unspoken
that's
hood
100.
rules.
Right.
That's
Let's
100.
get that straight though.
I think also what I what was interesting about like these communities is that like really it's only a minority who are really like wreaking havoc. Like it seems like a majority because of the like a lot of shit happens, but it's really not most of the people. Like if you talk to most, Black folks in Chicago, they're not like out for blood, like it's just not the case. But I think we think that because of the framing, because of the news, because of the stories, right? And but that's not really the case, right? Like I think they really, it's just a misrepresentation a lot of times, and I think it turns into political talking points, and it's often like all fear driven. It's like, oh, like these rioters in the city, like, and it's like, man, that's like, first of all, you're categorizing a whole like demographic, a whole zip codes of people, and you're saying that they're all the same, that people don't have conflicting views or conflicting ways of handling things, even within the communities. But I think when, at least for communities, usually there's enough love and respect within the community that they can work it out amongst themselves. But when you start putting the media lens on that and blowing that up and picking little talking points out of that, like you're not actually on the ground seeing how shit gets handled. Like we just said, grandma's house isn't really getting touched like that. Yeah, there are unfortunate occasions, but it's too many times that it's this big media lens hand selecting like what's going down in the community.
That is true. And for the record, at the same time, again, I am not from Chicago, but my grandma is born and raised 65th Ingleside. So
Not the street
I've been
names.
there. I've seen what it is. I mean, if y'all listen to Chance, y'all know what that is and what he talk about that street. It's right there by where Michelle Obama grew up. So both of them, if you listen heavy, well, you don't listen heavy to my grandma like I do, but if you listen heavy to Michelle when she talks, I feel like they would say the same things. And even though what you're saying, Kamau, is true about how it is painted in the media, I think that's half of the story. That amplifies that half of the story, that this is happening probably worse than what it is or what they're saying. But I think the other side of the story is, man, this is actually really happening in those communities. I know in Atlanta, because I'm from here, and what I saw, and also Chicago, just the stories from, 60 some years back to now, which is one of the reasons why my grandma really doesn't go back to Chicago, because of a lot of the stories that are happening. And I think the other half really is, there is something that needs to be done now within our community to stop these crimes. And I caught them. To anyone who've lost their family to these crimes, I don't want to down it by saying petty crimes, but condolences. And at the same time, I think a lot of these deaths are just over, things that there has to be something
Talk,
that can be
Zuri.
done,
Talk.
man,
I
and get the
keep
youth,
talking.
when they're younger, like something, programs, nonprofits, like we have to come together and really talk to these young girls and boys to say there are other ways to show love. There are other ways to show your muscle.
It's
There are
that
other
ego.
ways to show what's up here.
Right.
There are
And
other ways
even
to show your ego fast.
even to speak to that point of like the importance of one person being able to shift, because that question, that what do you do when someone kills your brother, right? What do you do to that person? Like, and everyone, when you ask yourself that question, if you don't think of take their life too, you're lying.
Yeah,
You're
it's your
lying,
human
especially
instinct
when you're in that, like, let alone that be the culture of it, like tit for tat. And I think about this, like that's the power of one individual. Wallow, Gilly and Wallow. Wallow is talking to Lil Durk and his crew, and he's talking about how he had went to jail. He came out and he's like my brother died in my grandma's arms on the couch. And if I ain't let it go, and he's speaking with so much fire, like he's like, if I didn't let it go, if I didn't swallow it, and I'm find a way to move forward, I wouldn't be able to take care of his kids right now. I wouldn't be talking to y'all right now. I wouldn't be sitting here. I'd be gone too. But because I was strong enough to let it go, I can tell you right now. And that's not going to come the same coming from me because I didn't live it, right? And that's the power of one person. One person saying, nah, yeah, you said you don't understand. No, but I do understand. My brother was taken too. And because I didn't respond, what would be the quote unquote, the right thing, as far as the culture is concerned at the moment, I did what was the right thing for the people.
Hey, Tunji.
And that is the hardest thing to do. Like, I don't know as a man if I could say I would do the same. I don't know. I want to hope I would, but I don't.
Tunji, how does that tie into the pivot and proceed message and or philosophy to you?
Bro, it's everything. Because like it's those defining moments in life where you decide like who, like you said, finding yourself, creating yourself, either way, you make that decision on where am I going to go? Where, and people in these moments, like I think the worst thing that could ever happen is you get lost in an emotion and you lose your life because of it. Sheesh. You black out and you just take a life and you have your life taken and you don't even remember what happened. So when I think about it tying into, I think about like when those defining moments come, and defining moments and you have an opportunity to make a decision. And it's so easy to be blind, to feel like you do not have options. You always have options. You always have options. And I think that's what it ties into me. Like even in the darkest moment, when you see only one path to walk and it's dark down there, you need to keep circling until you see the one with light. Even if it looks like it's hell down that path, because I could imagine someone taking my brother and me swallowing it in order to take care of his family, in order to take care of loved ones, like my best friends. I don't know how long I would hate myself for not taking that person's life. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, like, and that's just me being real, authentic. Because I feel like you took something from me, I'm gonna take something from you too. It makes sense. But to be able to pivot that feeling, like pivot your emotions, pivot, like it defines who you are as a human being. And I feel like Wallow walks different now. He's a different type of human being. He's unshiftable in a way few people will ever know. He walks with a strength that few people will ever walk with, because he took that path that looked impossible. He walked through hell, and now what's on the other side of every hell, for some reason, don't ask me why, it's paradise. It's heaven. I don't know why it works that way.
They say on the other side of fear is, listen, they say that it's on the other side of fear, everything you want. You just gotta go to that other side.
I'm telling you.
I feel you.
Sheesh.
This was a deep episode, y'all.
Yeah. Well, I got in my, oh man. So glows and grows? Anybody?
Oh man.
I was hoping you were gonna say it.
Oh man.
Yeah. Let's run it.
Get it?
So I guess I'll start glows. Day 118, we still cooking.
Still in the kitchen.
Yeah, we still in the kitchen. We ain't got sweet potatoes like grandma, but I'm cooking something.
Tunji, the trap house next door.
right. Saturday, I got a workshop that I'm doing for the Bros Omega Psi Phi, this chapter in Nashville. So like that's just a blessing to be able to do it. And grows. Last time I talked about arrogance and not wanting to like pretend I'm in somebody else's story. My grow is to, I don't know, to stay down even when it's hard. To still keep proud, like Zuri said, as I said, whether I'm finding myself or creating myself, I have a vision at this point of who I want to become. And like just staying down to keep doing the actions that get me there. That's me.
Nice.
There, you got it?
Yeah, I got it. I think my grow part for this week is financial related because I am doing a lot better with spending money. I'm doing a lot better in managing it because I truly believe if you can't manage 1,000, you can't manage 90 million. Facts. Or 1 million, whatever your number of, financial freedom is. We can get into that whole nother episode.
Definitely a worthy topic.
But I'm really doubling down on this and trying to deviate my money in ways that, yes, take care of me, but the safety net, all those different type of things, and just I'm seeing progress because it's real easy for it to just slip out of my hand for things that I think I want, think I need. And I would say my glow part. Wait, that was my glow part. My grow part, I would say. Honestly, I just trucking away with all this pivoting still in my life. I'm still 2 feet on the ground. I'm still putting one in front of the other. So keep it short and sweet this week. That's real and that's me for this week. What about you?
For me, I'm gonna have a grow for me, and then I'm gonna have a grow that is more kind of like for the people, or just like how I need to show up better for people. So I think how I need to show up better for me, I need to grow in 3 areas: sleep, what I eat, and how I deal with stress. I'm like, I'm just going through it. This like it's a good going through it, but boy, I'm going through it. Like it feels like a roller coaster. Though, and those 3 things can take me down at any point, or one of them at least. Sometimes it's like 2 out of 3. When it's 3 out of 3, those are like the days that you don't never forget. So yeah, I need to grow in those 3 areas. Sleep, I'm kind of addressing a little quick product endorsement. Whoop, WHOOP. Just look into it. It's a sleep monitor, but it's pretty legit. So I'll let y'all know how that goes. And then eating, I think it's just, we can do a whole episode on that too. So I'll just leave that up a bit. And then
please.
And then, yeah, and then I think, in terms of growing for the people, it's a tough one. I think just like thinking about more ways I can be of service to larger amounts of people. Like I feel like right now I'm a pretty good service provider for my friends, meaning like I'll like, especially like if I have the time, I'll do what I can do to help somebody, especially if there's somebody I know. But I think I feel like I need to like try to scale up my help, and like, how can I help a larger, like, how can I really help people like that I'm probably not gonna, or they're probably not gonna be able to tell me thank you. How can I help them, right? How can I scale that? Obviously this podcast is one way. I don't take that for granted, but I also feel called to just kind of push. My glow is I've found my two favorite cities in America. One is New Orleans, Louisiana. Shout out to y'all. Best time in America, in my opinion. You know, I know Las Vegas is up there, some other places, Houston, even Atlanta. New Orleans is the best time in the United States if you go at the right time. And then Chicago is either mine. It's probably my number two. They're probably tied. But Chicago, walking around this mug, it feels like walking around Rome. Like something about standing next to things, being in the presence of things that are so humongous that just puts your little tiny life in perspective. And these things have been here 100 and 150 years. Just puts your little life in perspective. So yeah, that's the glow.
Facts. Before we get out of here, I got one more thing. Probably should have did this before Grows and Glows. What is some new music that y'all are on this week or that y'all been on?
Ooh.
That's just making y'all feel
like
good
songs?
and you just can't turn it off.
I got a funny one.
So while y'all look, I could
Okay,
go first. I'm gonna let
first.
y'all look. So mine right now. So Blast. I don't know if y'all know about him, but BLXST. He just came out with a new album. He's been my guy since his first album that he came out with. And this new album is great. I mean, it's just so good. It is one song on here that I listen to every day. This is his new song. It's called Still on My Way. This man says, favorite line out the song says, and I'm still on my way, but the top don't look too far from me. Y'all, I play that song over and over and over. That shit is like poetry to me. And I know we ending the episode, so I can't get into it like I want to get into it. This will be for the next episode. But I'm going to just say it one more time for y'all, and then I'm going to let y'all go, okay? He said, and I'm still on my way, but the top don't look too far from me. What? Yeah. Is this man in my mind? Like, yeah. Is this man listening to our podcast? Like, that is everything. That is everything. Yeah, that's the song right now that just got me beaming. I love that song. What's up, Blast? Love it. What about y'all?
Let me jump in. So two. Number one, went to the studio with my guy, like Left Unsaid. Usually, there's a track we did together. When I tell you special, oh my, repeat for days. Like, but we'll talk about that later. That's down the road. That's another journey. For the public, Kwaku the Traveler by Black Sheriff.
Okay.
Who haven't fucked up hands in there? I know I fucked. I can't even do it.
Oh,
but when I say yeah. Like this song, I don't know. I was saying this. I don't know what it is about it, but it hits your spirit different. It's like Kwaku, Kwaku, the Traveler. Kwaku the Traveler by Black Sheriff. Just put that thing on repeat and let it ride. And you think about all the mistakes you've made. You think about all the mistakes you made in your life and how you're gonna push forward and how you're gonna pivot and proceed.
Come on now. Come on.
Real talk. Real talk.
I got two. One is Handheld GPS by Rex Life Raj.
Life Raj. Talk.
Ooh, Rex God, Life. Yes, sir.
Song.
Hey, y'all, for real. Like, there ain't too many songs that I just want to, like, when I'm feeling good and I need a repeat, kind of just like, like, what's up with life? Like, and then you watch this little music video and he's like walking around Yosemite. It's nothing even special. I guarantee he had no idea it was gonna blow the way it did. But that song is a vibe for sure. It's my good vibes song. And then today I was rocking with Kid Cudi. I got a lot of respect for Kid Cudi, but I've never been an ultra fan. He got this song Sad People on Man on the Moon 3, The Chosen. That's the name of the album, Sad People. It's a vibe too. It's kind of one of those sad songs, that got some swag to it and some upbeat. So like you feel good walking around to it. So Kid Cudi's always vibey.
And because you brought up Rex Life Raj, not even for like the listeners, I'm talking to you, Kamau, Zuri. If y'all want to hop on it too, listen to Father Figure 2.
Okay.
His album Father Figure 2. The first 3 tracks alone, good night. Like repeat for days. Days. Too Free, Where I Belong, and Level Up.
Too Free is my Where I Belong is my favorite
This could have turned to a whole other episode, y'all.
Boy,
Where I Belong.
Let's
I need
go.
to, if you never heard that song or Too Free, I need y'all to listen to those songs. But Where I Belong,
Rex Life Raj, 2 X's, REXX Life Raj, RAJ. I'm telling you, I'll be putting people on. I'll be thinking I'll be putting people on. People are already on it. I'm like, I've been listening to him.
More Than Enough is good too. But I'm gonna stop now because I'm about to say the whole album at this point.
Real talk, special.
All right, y'all. It's been real per always.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Well, let me think it says, for every pivot, may there be a proceed. We love y'all more than you know. Till next time.
Peace.
Till next time.